Welcome back to Breakfast Television. I'm Darren Jones in for Sid Sixero, and I get to sit beside Mel because Dina has the day off, and we're having a lot of fun. And we're about to dip into a conversation that if you got kids and you social media and you're not, well, even if you're with your partner still, it is a tricky landmine-filled road to walk down. You ask any parent with young children about the biggest challenges and most likely would mention social media. So when the parents are divorced, it becomes extremely complicated. And this issue came to light, of course, when Kanye West proclaimed he didn't give permission for his kids to be on social media. Joining us now, Alyssa Bach, an associate lawyer at Schulman Partners, to help us navigate this tricky topic. Good morning. Thanks for being with us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So, Alyssa, let's start here. What is the main issue that you're seeing here? Is it the fact of kids even being on social media, or is it what they're posting, what the platforms are? What is it?
I think that the biggest issue is the communication between parents and not being on the same page about their child being on social media at all. That's what we're seeing as the forefront of bringing up the issue, because when parents aren't on the same page, and then you add the complication of parents being potentially separated, divorced, having those conversations about what's appropriate for their children is where we're seeing a lot of the disputes.
And what does the law say about that? Like, say mom has no problem with the kid on Snapchat, the dad doesn't want it. What legally are the rules?
Ultimately, it's a decision-making avenue, and it's something that wouldn't necessarily fall under one of the major heads of decision-making, but it is something that you want to look at what's in the best interest of your child, and are there any safety concerns and dangers? A lot of these platforms also have specific restrictions on age, and so if you have one parent who has their child on a platform, say under the age that's being recommended by the platform, that's raising even more concerns potentially by the other parent.
It's so interesting, Mel, the idea that this is not a major decision, because it truly is. I mean, my son is turning 13 this year. You know, I want Snapchat. When can I get TikTok? And, you know, it's a tough conversation.
It is. And so let's say, Alyssa, and regardless if you're together or if you're separated, divorced, whatever it is, and depending on that relationship, do you recommend, Alyssa, to actually sit down and have this conversation? Like, where do you stand? Where do I stand? And where do you stand, you know, child in the middle, to actually get everyone on board?
Definitely. It's something that with any kind of co-parent situation, parents together, parents separated, you want to address this before it becomes a problem. You want to address it when you're first negotiating all aspects of your separation, or when your child is still young, and perhaps before that becomes something that comes up. So you can sit down and really talk about what are your feelings on it? What are their feelings on it? Why do they have those feelings? And is there a middle ground? Because when you're first at that negotiation stage, say you're separating, you can incorporate it into what's called a parenting plan, where it says, this is how we're going to deal with this particular issue. Or if there's an issue that hasn't been coming up to the forefront yet, this is how we're going to deal with issues, period. So that when it comes up, you're not trying to put it all together in the heat of the moment.
It's so tough because it's also shifting sand under your feet. You know, it depends on the age of your child. It depends on what their friends are doing. Like, my son spends a lot of time on Discord because that's the chat app that they use when they're playing online video games, and Snapchat is a tool they use to communicate. So you don't want to, like, cut your kid off from all the things their friends are doing, but at the same time, as a parent, you kind of also don't really know what's going on anyways. I
was going to say, Alyssa, like, let's get real. I have a lot of friends who have kids who are teens or preteens, and they have burner accounts. Where they say, listen, we do. No, Mom, we don't have Instagram. No, Mom, we don't have TikTok. Oh, yes, we do. Just under a different name, and we're not sharing it with you. And if we are sharing something with you, it's an account that you have approved. You know, let's say that comes into play with different parents. You know, how do you navigate that? Can you?
One of the top things is making sure that you're having open conversations and educating your child about the importance of one, safeguarding their personal information, and two, understanding what it means to put something online. Because then if something is happening in the background that maybe you're not initially privy to, at least they have that information there, and they've had those conversations about where your concerns come from and how they can make sure that they're safe online. You want to maintain that in an open and frequent and respectful way where you're having this conversation on a go forward basis, because it could be something that maybe the burner account comes up later. And also being observant of your child's behaviors, whether it's something that you're getting in a sense that they're not being honest with you. And is that something that's going to open up a new conversation about, again, where these concerns are coming from, and making sure that it's an open dialogue.
Absolutely. Alyssa, thanks so much for this. Where can we find out more info online?
Online, it's something that you would want to look at the resources, one from the social media apps in particular. So you would want to check to see what recommendations they're making, and then searching online for safety conversations with your child about social media use.
There it is at Schulman.ca. Alyssa, appreciate the conversation, an important one. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for having me.